especially for organizing all of this. Hello, many new faces. My name is Stephanie Buckler. Saying that in English is a weird thing to do. I use comprehensible input in my classroom, and so I play a lot of games in the target language. I love gamification. I try to do it often. If you haven't already, feel free to join our Pear Deck to kind of get an elevated sense of some of the games that we're going to get to play. You don't need to have Pear Deck to make these games work in your virtual or hybrid classroom, but I figured why not model these cool tricks while I can. I'm going to go ahead and start, but you're welcome to join the Pear Deck at any moment. And Lindsay, if you can post that link again in there for them.
Will do.
Appreciate it. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I actually live in Virginia. I teach at a high school and a middle school. We are 100% virtual learning and we use Google Meets. I do have some Zoom experience because I also do spoken Latin hours through Lupercall on Sundays. So, okay. So, Ludi. The two that we're going to focus on today are Cognac Quizit and Quid in Arca. I will warn you, by the way, on the Pear Decks, you can click on any of these bottom links and it will bring you to the linked part on my website. These ones are other ones that I've done. This one I haven't gotten a chance to post yet, but Nomina Occulta Pictoris is code names with pictures. It's a lot of fun, and pictures is awesome because you can play it in Latin or in English. And then Kikuro Dikit, version of Simon Says that I've been playing since I was a Latin student in high school. And then the two that we're going to focus on of Cognac Quizit and Quid in Arca. Cognac Quizit is off of Guess Who. When we first went virtual, my students and I were playing it, and then I realized it was like, it's primarily white dudes and like a few bit of women in the board. And so I wanted to make one that was more diverse and representative of our population. So we're going to play with a board that I created using other things that I have at my disposal. But I wanted to get your guys' opinion and try and do more of user participation choice because I love doing that in my classroom. Do you have a preference of whether we do Cognac Quizit or Quid in Arca?
There's a question in the chat right now while you're waiting.
Yes.
It says, was Pingamos Pictionary?
Yes, Pingamus was Pictionary. Thank you for asking that. And I realized if we get Quid in Arca, I need to grab my box. But it looks like we're going to first do Cognac Quizit. Okay. All right. Excellent. Gracias. Okay, so, and sadly, the one thing with Pear Deck that I don't like is that these fancy hyperlinks that I put in don't work. Like it won't link me to what that got linked to, but thankfully it's the next slide. So if through the Pear Deck you click on this, this will bring you to where it's posted on my website, dorklyeffectivelatin.com. Menta ludi, the point of this game is dic nomen personae quam alter lusor sit. Of you want to say the name of the other character before they do. Leges, roganda responsa ita on minime habet. So you have yes or no questions. De nomine non licet rogare. So you can't be like esne persona tua Lucius. Like that's not gonna work. And then some supplies for this. I've created a spinning wheel that pairs with the tables that I've created. So you can like click on one of those and it'll bring up a table for you. With the Pear Deck presentation, I have put one in one of our slides and you'll be able to draw and cross off as we go through. But part of my Dorkly Effective Latin website is also I play The Sims and talk about it in Latin, and so this is where all of these people are from. If you don't know what The Sims is, it's basically virtual dolls. It's been around since the 2000s, and I've been playing it since like 2005. So, okay. And then there is the spinning wheel. This wheel is used for like, so you can click and pick your name. When we get to, I think it's the next slide in the Flippity set, or not the Flippity, the Pear Deck set, you'll be able to have this so you can like spin. We'll get there in a minute, but I just wanted to show that for you all. Okay. Excellent. All right. Bene. Now, so ways that you can do this with your students. If you have the time, you can preload the information of asking them like, or not asking them, but going through with them these vocabulary phrases that'll be helpful for the activity. And you'll notice I've included in the audio. And so you can click on that audio, you can hear me ask like geritne on habitne and saying each of these words. Once we start playing, I'm going to turn on student pace, and this will allow you to click through the slides so you can go back to a question, hear it, and then ask it. Do we have any questions that are coming up in the chat so far that we want to take a moment to acknowledge?
Yeah, I would just someone was asking about your website because apparently the link as it's posted in the Pear Deck is invalid. So I was trying to go to Facebook to get it, but if you want to do that since it's your website.
Yeah. And currently I did not make this through the thing. I'm currently running into the issues of sites believing that it's real. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Ed, for putting that in there. Excellent. Yeah, so this is historicallyeffectivelatin.com. It has Ludi, also books that I've written that are available electronically, haven't done physical copies yet. The channel itself, also I have Gertaman resources on there as well. And I'm trying to collect some different ability resources. So if you know ways to help different ability learners, please let me know. I have a form for that as well on there. But back to the Pear Deck. All right, so show of like hands and things, who has like never done any kind of spoken Latin before, or slash like who like comfort level of speaking Latin? Like just kind of say in the chat of like a 1 to 5 or maybe a 1 to 10 range. 10 being like, oh, I speak Latin like almost daily. 1 to being like, I've never done it. Okay.
You've got quite the range in there.
Oh yeah, that was one of the reasons I added in this audio feature for us tonight, because I thought it would be very helpful because again, I know that we're all over the place when it comes to spoken Latin. So, but for these first two, I'll go ahead and kind of model the practice of it, but then I will, apologies, I didn't mute my phone before this. But then I'll kind of skip ahead to the next part where you will be able to kind of click through and hear the audio as you need to. But habitne out geritne petasatum. So if you remember back on our board, we have two figures that have something on their head. However, I wouldn't necessarily call Juno's headdress thing a hat. But that's the word that my friend and I went with. Ocularia, out mustachium, out fortasse barbam. I also like to try and include different ways of saying things. So if you want to focus maybe on accusatives with the class, you could do habitne crines orofos, habitne crines flavos, and kind of going through those. Or if you want to maybe focus on ablative characteristic, you can be targeting the phrase esne crinibus rufis flawis. And I apologize, the audio only includes the accusative forms. So, okay. And then also, actually, this was one that I did want to address, omnibus, of esne femina, we are on imbinaries, and imbinaries is a Lupercal approved word for non-binary. There is one non-binary person on the board. If you ask the question, esne femina or esne wir, doesn't necessarily eliminate this person. At least that's how I play, because majority of students that I've experienced, they're like, you can use any pronouns for me, I don't care, that fall into this category. So, okay. Okay, excellent. That was actually the last of the Habisne phrases. So there are different ways that you can play. I've done it first with my students of it was me versus them, where they all decided, like, they used the spinner to decide on who they were going to be. I had muted my audio so I couldn't hear them talk about it. And then one of them gave me like a thumbs up when they had decided who their person was. And then we went and played, and we were trying to track and guess. Like, they were trying to figure out who I was trying to figure out who they were. The original way is just playing it with one friend. And then another way that we've done it, and like when I've had maybe 6 to 7 students in the call, I think I one time did it with a group of 15, but everyone had a person, and we were just taking turns asking each other, oh bestia, persona tua habitne crines rufos. And then like Bestia would respond to me, and then Bestia would end up asking someone else about their person. But for simplicity tonight, I would probably say like me versus you all. So I have to again remind myself of my pacing. Is it? Okay, this is where we have the flippity. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna mute my audio for a moment. Someone can designate themselves, or maybe Lindsay, if you could spin the flippity wheel, let people know who they are on the board. Let me mute my audio now. Okay, I can no longer hear you. So again, to kind of just restate, of you all are going to have one persona from our board. On the Pear Deck, there's a nice flippity, or like the flippity spinner. If you click the spinner, it'll then pop up with a name, and that name will tell you who you are. And I actually need to hide my spinner so that I can pick it without you guys knowing who I am. Question, is the Ludamus currently presenting? Yes, okay, excellent. I never know when I like pull a tab out if it tries to follow that tab or what. Okay, so I still cannot hear you guys, but you can like let people know who your guys' character is. So I'm also trying to not look at your faces so I don't read lips.
I'm not going to say any character. I would love for whoever feels strongly about this to go ahead and do the flippity themselves and put it, first person to put a character in the chat.
All right, am I good to turn my audio back on?
1 second.
Okay.
So whoever wants to pick a character for us, go ahead and spin it and put it, privately chat me with it. Nobody wants to spin? I don't have it up. Oh, here we go. Okay, I got one. All right. So she's still out. Pluto is our character. Okay, everybody, Pluto. All right.
All right. Am I good to turn on? Okay, cool. All right. And also one thing that I realized, it might be helpful to kind of go through the different characters so that you, or like as far as hair color goes, because some of them have pretty close hair color. So flowers, flowers, fuscos, flowers, rufos, atros, fuscos, fuscos. I'm going to mainly point out the ones that are difficult to tell. Fuscos. So yeah, both the lupi have fuscos. Lignius, even though you can't see it, he also has brown hair. That is actually after Woody from Toy Story. He was a class mascot. I had a student submit him to be created for the sim thing. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So this is gonna pop up a thing for me, so I have a little board to play on. Actually, I want to spotlight this board real quick. So when you click on that link, it brings you to a view-only version of a Google Drawing. Let me make this a wee bit bigger and make that a wee bit smaller. Okay. But of what I did is I just made an infinite, oh, hold on. I have to, first you make a copy, so then that way you can play on your own. So again, if you aren't able to get like the fancy Pear Deck to do the drawing ability, you can even still just link the board. Students can make their copy so that they can play and hide along with you. But this stack of blue, you just click and drag one as people get eliminated.
So there's a question in the chat. Are we still on Pear Deck?
Yes, you guys are still on Pear Deck. Yeah, you guys are staying on Pear Deck. You guys don't have to leave. I just will switch around. But excellent. So here's the Pear Deck. This is what I kind of mentioned of this drawing tool, where you'll be able to cross off. So you have a whole bunch of different colors. If you ever play this with students where each person has like or each student has a character, then you could like maybe do some color coding or something on your end to kind of keep track of it. But the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on student pace, so that way you're able to go back, hear the audio, and ask questions. But I want to pull out my tracker so you guys don't see how well I'm doing. Okay.
It looks like, I don't know if this, one person at least says that on her Pear Deck, she still has the picture of the hat and glasses. I'm not sure why that would be the case.
So that is now because it is on student pace. So now you are able to move through the different slides and you're not going to be synced with me right now. So that way that if you need to go back to hear that audio, you can play it before asking the question. Yeah. So, all right, cool. Okay. So, any other questions before we begin? All right, excellent.
Nothing in the chat. You're good to go.
Perfect. All right, I'll start us off and ask the first question. Habitne crinos rufos. Minime. All right, bene. All right, aliquis roga me. Someone ask me a question. And you can indicate by like doing a hand raise feature, as I saw that alerts me. Minime. Oh yeah, and sometimes what I do for my like pacer board is I'll like move or make a copy of mine. All right. Esne persona tua femina.
Minime.
Mm. All right, rogame. Minime, non gerit petasum. Esne persona tua crinibus flavis. Ooh. I'm right now wishing I had the draw feature because that would be so much easier than my drag and dropping. There we go. Non-habit. Oof. I finally had all of the femina covered, and so now I have to go through and hide all of the blondes. All right. Estne persona tua deus. Ooh.
There's a question in the chat. Esne tua persona crinibus. I'm not sure what, is this supposed to be? This is berwibus, but I'm not sure what color that's supposed to be.
Hold on. How am I not seeing that one in the chat?
It's to me privately. That's why I'm
Oh,
reading.
okay.
But it says, yeah, I'm not sure what color. Oh, brewibus, typo.
Yeah, brevibus is, yeah, the short. It's crinibus brevibus est. It's esne persona tua deus maris. Ooh. All right, rogame. Non-habit. Esne persona tua Pluto. Ah, bene. Optime. Does anyone want to take a guess at to whom my person was? It's Estomo. Non. Non. Oh, you guys are really far off. Oh. Non habet crinos flavos. Non est deus. Est vir non habet crines fuscos. Et est Lucius, et vera Lucius est amicus meus. So he's one of my friends. If you guys have seen the videos by Life in Latin, that is that dude. With the little girl that cooks in Latin. So yeah, that's him. Okay. All right, excellent. How did you guys enjoy that game? And actually, I think, yes, the next part is conclusions. So ways that you could adapt this to your school climate. I know we have quite a few hybrid teachers among us tonight. Honestly, I personally think of like, unless you're in that situation, it's really hard to imagine. But one way that you could do this, because I know that one thing that hybrid teachers struggle with is how to engage those online and those in the classroom. You can have this happen between like your ones in the classroom decide who they're going to be on the board, your ones on the meet decide who they're going to be, and you kind of try and facilitate between that. Lindsay, if you can, so for those on the Pear Deck, you can type in your responses there. I'm going to see what ones we have coming in on the chat. Oh yeah, yes, yeah. She's adorable. She's amazing. She didn't believe me or like believe her parents when they told her that I was one of the people she would watch on YouTube. They're like, "What? No!" So it was really fun. Um, so okay. But yeah, I'll give you guys a moment on like conclusions, way to adapt this. And for those that are new to Pear Deck, like it tells you at the bottom how many responses you've seen. Ooh, I'll stop student pace so that way you get brought to where we are. That might help us.
So perhaps even if people don't necessarily have their own ideas about how to adapt this particular activity to your environment, maybe if you have questions about how to do that, that could be put in the chat as well.
Oh, definitely. Thank you. I had to like minimize you guys so that I could see my board. Here we go. Now I see faces. Yay.
Looks like maybe people are feeling confident and like you gave them the equipment to actually just do this. It's pretty good.
Nice. Nice. Ways to adapt it post-COVID. I love it. Excellent. Yay! Excellent. This was my main thing, was like, how can we do Latin Club virtually? And I was like, let's get this in one of the early things because anyone trying to plan Latin Club and like being like, how am I going to do this? So, oh yeah. So for me, I define short hair as above the shoulder. Um, but like if you were between like how we probably had like uh Pluto and Neptune who had pretty long hair compared to like Caipio and Lucius. So it's depending on like who I have left. But you can always kind of like refer being like Esne crines prope aures, like is it close to the ears? So yeah, yeah. The one about having the students in the grid, that was a suggestion that I've got when I first went into making this virtual. Um, but I'm still working on like growing my class sizes. So, all right, excellent. Yay. Awesome. And at the end of, like once we get through the presentation, I'll put a student pace back on so that if you want to go back and add more conclusions and things, but all right. So next we have quit an ARCA. Give me one moment while I go get the ARCA.
This might be a good moment for a stretch break or a brain break. I make a point of stopping I teach remotely as well, and no more than 15 minutes of time goes by without, all right, stop, get out of your chair, do a stretch together, get some water.
Oh yes, yeah. Let's take a moment to all just
Yes,
stretch.
teachers need it too.
Yeah. Oh goodness. My favorite is to like cape aliquid rubrum, like just tell them something of a certain color to grab, maybe like a certain quantity of it. And then it's like, and if you like need to go to the bathroom, do that instead. And it gives people time to like, I'll then be like, if you want to share what you got, like go ahead and show it. And then I'll start talking about the things that they're showing. Um, and then that'll just give the students that do need that bathroom break ample time. But oh. All right. Um,
I think you're probably good to go whenever you're ready.
so I don't know about polls in Zoom. Someone that has more information about the polls in Zoom. Again, I'm a Google Meet teacher, and so I don't often. Okay, only with license account. Okay, cool. Thanks for that, Lindsay. All right, excellent. Okay, so quid in arca is habeo aliquid in arca et necesse est vobis divinare. Trying to figure out what could possibly be in my arca. Quid est in arca. All right. Okay, so nunc metia ludi dic quid in arcam. Raganda quoque responsa eta on minime habet. Copia sunt arca, res in arca, et roganda auxilii, like ways to help. So this one has a lot more question, or like a lot more phrases to help get us through the activity. And so this is one where we might do like the first 4, then I'll turn on student pace and you can click and toggle through, hear the Latin and ask it if you feel so inclined, or we can also keep using the chat feature like the last one. Okay, so first one, quam magnum esne parva, esne media, esne magna, rogate me, de Esco corrector size said rogate me. Non es magna, non es res magna. Media non est.
Ergo parva est?
Ita parva est, ita bene. I realize I don't know if in that window you guys saw the chat just kind of hanging out in there. All right. Esne mollis sicut ursus fartus, or ursus fartus on dora sicut saxum. Rogate me. Mollis est. Mollis est. Qualem figuram habet? Habet ne figuram cerci? Stellae? Cubi? Coni? An fortasse rectanguli. Rogate me. Fortasse. Sunt multas figuras habet. Multas figuras habet. Non habet. Joachim habeo in mente. If it doesn't really fit in a box. Meaning it doesn't fit a specific one of these shapes. So has figuras non habet. Sed fortasse quinque rectanguli or rectangulos or non, hold on. Fortasse habet figuram quator figuras rectanguli et unam figuram cerci. Fortasse. All right. Et nunc esne longa on brevit. Ah, creant tu es vir ingeniosus. Ita escanis. Ita escanis. Nomen ei est Bruce.
I had the visionment that it was a real dog.
Oh, non est escanis fartum. Quia est verum erat, dende latrat, sed hoc non latrat. And I'm a cat person at heart. My students, their first word is always Thales, but I've locked my cat out of the office tonight, so I did not get distracted. But, well, since we got, oh yes, the next one of other ones that I had in there of Esne humida on Sika, bene lora, et concilium meum erat hoc fakey, of like, I was gonna pour some water in it. I'm like, sub humida est. So yeah, it's great for adjectives. This was actually, with Lubricol, we were trying to work on adjectives, and one of our members mentioned this was a game that her second grader was playing in English through the virtual thing, and I was like, ooh, let's do that on Lubricol. And it was a great hit, and so I really hope that the audio was helpful for people. I am in Fredericksburg, or like Stafford area. I'm kind of like right on the line. So yeah, I've been to Charlottesville quite a few. Excellent. We also have like Esne, Pretiosa on Willis. Et hoc est Willis, non est Pretiosa. Mihi Pretiosa est, said non est. But yes, Amy, I have a contact slide, but definitely reach out when we get to that. Also, again, working on the colors. I love colors. I rope in colors as often as I can. My Latin name is Iris, so it would be a disservice if I didn't mention colors as often as I could with things. So, et omnes, quibus coloribus est canis.
Albo.
Oblo est ita, et ater. Ita pul, fortasse sub pullus est, just because of age, he might be a little gray. But Grant asked of the most absurd thing I've done in Quid and Arca, would be this. It is a plume bob. It is the signal that is above a Sim's head in the game. I did this during Lubricol. Yeah, Sharon was there. She's like, we had no idea. Every time I touch that thing, I get covered in glitter again. But yeah, so far I've only gotten to play this with Lubricol. I've yet to bring it to students, but I'm excited for when I do, because my kids just love a good game day. So, yeah, it's basically virtual dolls. I currently play Sims 4, which is the newest version of it, but it's been quite a run. And then also things that you could get if they're like still not getting it, you could ask them like, well, could you drink it? Non possum bibere canem. Potestne rem comedere? Ita sed non est bonum concilium. Potestne rem iacere? Oh, facile. Iacio. Facere, someone could, I could not. Legere, It no longer has a tag that's readable, so no, you can't read it. But you can be really creative with things. But the more common of a household object you have it, the quicker the game goes. So I would definitely line up like 2 or 3 items to plan to do to go through this. So yeah, to reiterate what Sharon said of like depending on the object, picking the vocabulary, and a lot of the ones that I got is I used this book, First Thousand Words in Latin, went to the contrarium section because they have so many different. Ooh, I was so close to opening up right to that page. They just have so many different opposites, so that way you can kind of go through those. So yeah. And then let's see, what's the next one? So conclusions, ways to adapt this to your school's climate, or maybe questions of how you could do it. And again, of maybe for like the students that are online, they like come up with something to put in a box and they have it, and you're asking that student like, Havis Hoke and everything, like, is it this one? Is it this one? And they can kind of like look to you kind of for guidance, whether you're like nodding your head or shaking it. I'm going to give you guys a few moments to kind of write those thoughts down. And I honestly could not remember how long of time I had and forgot to ask Lindsay that question. And so I'm just trying to like make sure we hit everything.
The series is have been an hour.
Okay, cool. That was my time frame. That was my time frame. Okay.
There's an idea in the chat. I don't know if you saw, Sharon said, in a hybrid class, students in the classroom could come up with the objects to guess for the students online.
Yeah, that would be another good one. Yeah. And then like with that, you could be like, okay, so what questions would help them like try and guess this object? Like, do we need to have like, is it expensive? Do we need to have both the like how big is it or how long is it? Like, do we need to have both of those questions in there and kind of help brainstorm that? See, those are the Pear Deck. Ask in chat while the others ask in person. Excellent. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, so this is my contact info. Feel free to take a screenshot of it. This is the email where I will respond most often to you, or at least I'll at least see it and know that I need to respond. My other emails are not as effective because it does not depend on me to answer them. But you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at dorklyeffective. My website is again dorklyeffectivelatin.com, and my YouTube channel is Magistra PC. So that's where I play The Sims and talk about it in Latin. I do have a video coming out tomorrow that goes through, what is it? Like quid placet tibi, of asking you what things do you like to do, and it has a sim doing that thing. And then I talk about whether or not that sim likes to do that thing. So I'm really trying to focus on creating videos that'll be enjoyable for the class. I will note on my videos, I do not pre-script them. I like loosely script them. I try to give authentic Latin. You'll hear my ums, stutters, and everything. So, but unless there are any questions, I did prepare some extras. So we do have some extras of things.
Give it 1 second. Does anyone have any questions they want to either unmute themselves to ask or put in the chat? Otherwise, we can let Stephanie show us some more. Yeah, so the slides, so Pierre asked, are you willing to share the slides from the 2 games, or would we find them on your website? So are these slides are the slides that are in the deck that you shared with me, right?
Yep, yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
so
slide link will be with the YouTube video. We can put it right into the chat as well, but it also will be attached to the YouTube video that I post on on Kane's website as well.
yeah. And then like also if you want the unfancy versions where they're not tied with Pear Deck, because the one thing that Lindsay and I were talking about earlier is we have no idea when our premium trial ends. Does that mean those fancy things stop working, or you just can no longer create them? So if anyone's finished their Pear Deck trial and knows the answer to this, let us know. But you can find them here. The only one I've yet to put up yet is the Pingamus one, which has saved my tail feathers already once this year. So I'll get that one up. But they just kind of go through. This one I try and provide materials for. Okay, but can still use the old one. Cool, otime. All right, yeah. So yeah, there are those there. But yeah, any other questions at all? Okay, cool. Some quick extras. This is mainly in the mindset of a teacher that uses Google Meet, because we currently don't have breakout rooms in our Meet platform. So like I can assign them partner work, but they have to talk in a chat and not necessarily getting to see one another. And so after talking with my roommates who are also teachers, we're like, well, wait, students don't have to have grid view on. Like they can just pin the presentation, the speaker, or pin a partner. And so with this, you like I've yet to desire the chaos of everyone choosing a partner. So I set up partners in advance, be like, okay, you're gonna pin this person to your screen by pressing the little pin button. That's for those on Google Meets. I think on Zoom, it's the 3 dots is how you can pin people to the things. Awesome. And pen specific partners, then you give them the vocabulary list, and then they either have to act out or draw. I do have a few students where they or their parents do not permit their picture being online, even in a Meet setting. So like they can never turn their cameras on. And so I wanted to be like, okay, how can I get around a student not having their camera on? Jamboard is a main thing that I use. You could also use Google Drawings, and they can draw and like do a Pictionary version instead of a charades version. But when I did this with my level 1 students, I was like, okay, what feedback can I get? And they're like, don't make us act it out. Another one was like, I want to act it out. And I was like, okay, how about a choice between Pictionary and charades? They're like, that's okay. And I'm like, all right, cool. But for more fun, we set a timer to see like how many words could you get through in the set amount of time. So any questions on these pin pals? Well, can you go more into, or so the way with Google Meets, or go ahead, Rachel, and explain.
Well, I'm in hybrid, so like I have all kinds of problems with audio because I have kids in the classroom and kids like at home.
Okay.
And so if like all of us in the room are on the same Google Meet, then there's all kinds of feedback and like craziness. But I'm just wondering if you just pin, I've never done this before, but like if you just pin one person and everyone is talking on the same Google Meet.
So this is a activity without audio.
Oh,
So they're
okay.
not even using they're not having their mics on at all. They are just pinned. And so with your like hybrid situation, if everyone's like you have a group of students that are in the room on the Meet and others that are like at home on the Meet, you can then pair it of someone at home is with someone in the classroom to kind of cross that divide. But yeah, this is purely one without audio, one that I think would work really well with an ASL class, because then they can kind of have a conversation. And I have talked to ASL teachers in my county about this, but for them, some of their classes are too long that like it's even preventing lag issues, which we're like, okay, but your camera's only focusing on the video. So it's still like a work in progress, but just kind of a brainstorm idea that I had one night that I was like, ooh, they pen it. And so it's a game of charades slash kind of having a Jamboard or a Pear Deck, or not Pear Deck, Jamboard or a Google Meet, Google Drawings. Ugh, there's so many Google things. But yeah, um, I hope that answered your question more so.
So I'm wondering, how would you have them do the guessing then amid, like between the pairs? Do they like private message each other? Like how do they, because if they're just like acting out or drawing, like how does their partner communicate with them about what they think is happening?
So with that, it's like I told them, I was like, before we start, go grab a marker and paper. Yeah, so like you were gonna write it and then you just show it on your screen. That was the main idea. And then they were like, we want a way to where we don't have to turn our cameras on. And so I was like, okay. And so when I do this with my middle school group, which has more of those people where they can't have their cameras on, I'm gonna have pre-made like Jamboards to be like, if you and your partner like don't want to have cameras on, here's a Jamboard for you. I can see what they're doing because I know the one thing with Jamboard is it doesn't show edit history. So, but yeah, any other questions at all from anybody? Cool. Thank you all for coming. Sorry if at any point I talked too fast, but this is my first time ever actually doing a presentation, not just a webinar. So,
Well, thank you so much on behalf of Kane and the educational programs sort of wing, which is what I run. Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you everybody for coming tonight. And
yeah.
as I said, I will be reaching out to all of you afterwards who said you wanted to be contacted about future events. And I also will send you the link to the YouTube channel with the videos that we've already made and once this one has been processed. So all that stuff will be available to you as well.
And I've also turned on student view, so if you want to go back to either get my contact information or share any of the things for the conclusion sessions, you can go ahead and do that.
All right.